And they want to know what happened. Over the last few years, they've been saying, what's going on? What happened? And I thought, you can take your pick. A lot happened. And so a few years ago, when the legislature in Tallahassee was talking about rearranging and changing property taxes, everyone that you would talk to would say, you know, we can't do anything, you know, property taxes. And you would say, well, why can't you do anything? Well, property taxes. You know, until we know what property taxes are going to be, we really can't do anything. And pretty soon, everything in the whole business community became about property taxes. And so then property taxes happened, and people said, well, you know, I can't do anything now because, you know, property taxes. Really? And then you'd wake up and it was a rainy day in Orlando, Florida, and people would say, yeah, property taxes. And so it's a way of thinking that happens. And you know, one or two of those kind of slow things down. When you start talking about recessions and inflation, and you start talking about bailouts and wars, you know, you go home and you say, I want to turn it off. Well, as business people, what happens when all of those things happen? Fear and uncertainty. Business is still happening. But those things that drive an economy have slowed down, especially the small businesses, especially the ones that are the foundation of all of our communities across this country, including Citrus County. These numbers came from the Edward Lowe Foundation and the Kauffman Foundation. I speak all over the country, and I've got to tell you that these numbers vary a little bit, but it's usually just a few percentage points. These are the same kinds of numbers that we see all over the country. What can you do today about it? I didn't come here to rain on a parade, but I needed to start with the reality of what it is we're dealing with. Because once you know what we're dealing with, it starts to put other things in perspective. And so, what can you do today with all of that negative news? The easiest way to generate cash flow is to cut your expenses. Because if you want to make $100 and you cut $100 worth of expenses, $100 drops to your bottom line. If you try to sell your way out of $100, you may have to sell $500 in order to get a profit margin that gives you $100. We've had recessions before. We've had tough times before. Everything's okay. We're the answer. You're the answer. Thank you for inviting me.